Well, here we are, the end of June, end of the first half of the year, second quarter's down, and man, a lot of stuff's happened this year. We're going to talk a little bit this week about the month of June. Next week, we'll come back and we'll talk about second quarter and put some trends together, some information that basically you can see when you look at that higher level versus weekly or monthly. You go out to the quarter view and you kind of see it from up in the air. So let's get the show started and see what happened in the month of June. Hey there, it's Les Solgrove, Simply Des Moines Market Values. This is week 26, end of June report. All of the graphics and videos from previous shows, including this week's show, are available at DesMoinesMarketValues.com. And be sure and always leave a thumbs up on the YouTube video, or if you're on social media on Facebook, go ahead and give me a like. Be sure to leave some questions as well. Anytime you have a question, just leave that there, and I'll do my best to answer it either in person or on the next week's show if I can here. So let's get started here. We're looking at the uh, basically the three main categories: active homes for sale, pending homes for sale, and closed sales. And then we'll look at that same category as far as pricing goes. So this week, what you want to notice right off the bat is that inventory continues to climb. We are at the highest point now of inventory that we've had all of last year. We're moving right down the path of having a very, very good growth inventory year. We're 683 homes more on the market than we had when we currently have 3,456 homes, and that's short of 700 more homes than we had last year. That's a pretty good jump. Everybody feels like, oh gosh, the market's picking up, inventory is growing. But really, as we all know, and you've heard me talk about this in the past, inventory is not necessarily coming from all the new listings. It's basically it's growing because some of the sale pendings are down just a little bit here. So looking at this from a monthly perspective, you can kind of see it a little bit better. The month of May, we had brought on just over 1,000, almost 1,100 new homes into the marketplace that month. This past month of June, we only brought in 1,000. So again, there's where I'm talking about where we're actually bringing in fewer homes during the month, but we're actually growing our inventory. So that all has to do with the pace of pending sales and compared to the listing sales. So, and actually, this one isn't a bad one to look at as well. If you look at the little dashes, those are last year's numbers where we were last year. So we're not too far off of pace from 2023 with where we had just under 1,000 homes come on the market. So we're within 25 or 30 homes different there, and that's kind of a good sign. What you do notice here is last year that the inventory started to drop as far as the number of homes coming on the market after the month of June. So June is typically a peak month for many of the categories, and we'll talk about that today. As far as sale pending, so this is the reason why we're seeing inventory start to increase. It's because we're behind our pending sales counts. So the pace of sales, we're still selling lots of homes. We put it 308 fewer homes in the closing bucket as of the month of or as of week 26. So with just over almost 2,160 homes under contract, that's still a pretty good pace right there. But you can kind of see, I talked about peak months. The month of May is typically our peak month for sale pending sales. So we've really gone past the point of the year where we see the pace of sales increasing. We're now just kind of on this downward slow trail down, which is very typical and very normal for our marketplace. What we'd like to see is obviously as we get toward the end of the year that this doesn't trail off at such a difference and maybe even picks up just a little bit before we get toward the end of the year here. So how this looks from the monthly perspective, again, 1,223 homes went under contract the month of May, 1,106 went under contract the month of June, and that is quite a bit fewer than what we had there. Almost 1,300 homes a year ago. So the pace definitely is slower. In fact, last year it was actually April was the year that or the month that we saw that peak of our activity. So as far as closed sales go, right now we're holding real steady. We're just 35 homes away from our year-to-date closed sold count. We're going to talk more about that next week when we look at the quarterly numbers, but we're right on track with last year, and things are going to change. Just right now, I can tell you that things are going to change as we move into the second half of the year. We're going to start to either trail behind if pending sales don't start to pick up. And it's going to be a challenge to sell as many homes as we did in 2023, but it can be done. It's going to take some more activity in some different categories. And here's exactly why I can say that. Even though we're only 35 homes or so behind last year at this point in time, you can see that a year ago we actually closed just over 1,400 homes the month of June, and we only closed 1,175 this month. I think part of the reason, again, I've said this before, some of the reasons why we're seeing that number stay so close is that with fewer sale pendings in the books, it takes the processors and the appraisers less time, and they're actually closing a little bit quicker. That's not typically a number I track, but I can tell you that homes are closing well within 30 days right now, and so that's one of the things that's keeping us kind of on track. But as you can see, the expectation, if we follow past years, is that we're not going to see an increased number of closed sales as we move into July, maybe close to August, just before we get to the end of summer peak there. But once we get into September, it just slows down again as we go toward the end of the year. This number here, this is that same graphic, except I've overlaid the last 3 years. So instead of just looking back at last year, which is the black line, which would normally have the little dashes, you can kind of see here that the 2022 and 2023, the peak months were both the month of June, and our peak month for this year, obviously, unless something changes, our peak month was May. 2021 being that first year really directly affected by COVID, we didn't peak that year until July. And even then, it didn't fall off very much. So I'd love to see this same kind of trajectory. It's not going to be as high, but I'd like to see it hold a little bit flatter than what we're seeing the last 2 years do. And so we'll kind of watch that. As far as pricing goes, so we just talked about units now. Let's talk a little bit about pricing. And really, these numbers here, we're going to look at what is the price of homes currently for sale. Um, it's going to be different when we look at sale pendings and closed sales, but at least on the for sale category here, we're seeing a decrease in the median list price overall. We're down 5,000 on the median list pricing, and that's giving home buyers maybe a little confidence, especially with mortgage rates staying a little high, although they came down. We'll see that at the very end here when I talk about mortgage rates. But you can see that the median price, where half the homes are listed above and half are listed below this particular price at 369,900 or $370,000. That's a nice swing to see that come down a little bit. And the trajectory that we typically see is after the 4th of July week, which is coming up here, we typically see home sellers, make price adjustments, and we see pricing actually trend downward again for about that full month of July, and then into August, and then into September and October until it flattens out near the end of the year. So this is what we kind of expect to happen based on what we've seen in the past. As far as pending sales, this is why I say it doesn't necessarily matter or mean a lot that the list prices are higher, because this is the price at the time a home goes under contract. And homes are still selling above last year's pending prices. So that just tells me that the desire is still there to buy homes. Home sellers still have an advantage. It's still a seller's market. And that's predominantly what's drawing this pricing up a little bit. So at 312,782 is the median pending price. This isn't the sale price, but this is the median price of the homes when they went under contract. That's still almost $13,000 higher than it was the same time last year, and it gets even greater when you look at the median sale price. Now, this one is we've tracked pretty close to last year's numbers. The median sale price, this is the actual hard number. This is where the homes have been closing. Half the homes have been, again, for median, half the homes above 307 and half the homes closed below that 307 price point. But what you do see is right here, we got this little bit of a tick here where we've actually outpaced last year by a pretty substantial number, considering the last 4 weeks we were holding right close to that $300,000 price point. So we've bumped over 300 now for this month, and it's possible that that number is going to just bop back down, or it might stay a little higher as we go on. But either way, you can see that the history basically says we stay really close to that 300 $275 to $300,000 price point for closed sales as we move toward the end of the year. And again, this is for all homes, including new construction and resale properties. When it comes to months of inventory, this is kind of the pace of the market. This is, telling us that right now it's going to take just over 3 months to sell out of all homes for sale if no new homes come on the market. Compared to last year, it was 2.2 months a year ago at this same time. So it doesn't seem like a lot, but this is one of those categories where even 30 days or close to 30 days is a longer time, and it's felt by home sellers. Home sellers are used to homes selling quickly. I think gone this last year and this year as well are the months of inventory periods where we were at 1 month or below. The market has definitely changed from there. And the outlook, obviously, as we move toward the end of the year, is that we are going to see the pace of sales slow even more and very likely get back up into that balanced market as we get toward the end of the year. So let's end the show this week and talk a little bit about mortgage interest rates. Rates did drop this last couple of weeks in a row, not by very much. We'll talk about the actual rate here in a second, but this graphic kind of shows the correlation of, what I always say about how as mortgage rates increase, inventory increases, and there's always that delay. So we saw inventory or rates going up here basically the first half of the year, the first 5 months of the year, and then rates kind of tailed off. And in this particular case, what I've said before, that inventory chases interest rates, is not true this last 6 weeks here. And again, this inventory growing is basically growing again because of a slower pace of pending sales. But looking back over time, you can see that as interest rates rose, so did inventory. And so I would really truly expect it to be a little tougher for us to maintain a growth of inventory as we move down to the end of the year if interest rates continue to drop. And that would be a good thing, because that would means that home buyers are out there taking advantage of a little bit lower mortgage interest rate, and the more they buy, then it takes more homes to refill that active inventory bucket there. So the last slide here, this is the buying power slide. And basically, compared to a year ago, it's about $4,700 cheaper to buy a home this year than it was at last year at this point in time. The buying power of a $2,000 a month principal and interest payment on a 30-year fixed rate, just principal and interest only, as of this past week was 304,912, and that's with an interest rate of 6.86%. The week before, the interest rate was 6.87%. So yeah, we had a drop in mortgage interest rates, but only by 0.1% on the national average. And that really equates into about a $300 difference in buying power. So not a whole lot of, not the payment, just buying power itself. So we're holding pretty steady around that 300 to 305 price points there. So I would say that the best thing that could happen to our real estate market is that mortgage interest rates do finally start to trail down a little bit. It doesn't sound like the Fed's going to cooperate and help us make that happen, but as we move toward the end of the year, if mortgage interest rates decide to drop dramatically around to closer to that 6% range, then all bets are off for all my predictions, because that's just going to really be a good jumpstart for the market and make the year end on a really, really positive note. Otherwise, we kind of can predict where we're going to end the year. So anyway, that's kind of the show this week. Next week's show, we're going to talk about the quarterly reviews and a little bit about looking at the values from a little bit higher level than just monthly. And this also gives us some perspective. And these are just some example slides that kind of give you an idea of what we're going to be looking for next week. So, all right, well, with that, thanks again for tuning in this week. If you enjoy this content and you find it valuable, as always, please hit the share button and subscribe. And also click that notification bell if you're on YouTube. That will alert you every time a new show comes out. Your support certainly helps this channel grow and create many more great videos for you and other viewers. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you all again next week.